Hey guys, what's up? Jared here, Dex and Dice, Ramblings of an LGS owner. And let's see if we can talk about a slightly touchy subject, I guess, or subjects. And that is store credit. Like we all know store credit is good. Trades are great and all that good stuff, but it's actually a debt. It's a debt that you owe that particular person because they, sold you their product or whatever on store credit. Now, like, I get it. It's not a debt in the typical, like, bad debt kind of thing. It's a good debt. Um, because you get inventory. Hopefully, it's, easy moving. It's liquidity, whatever you want to call it. And like, most store owners will think of it as like a complete and total asset, right? Like, oh, great, I got $1,300 worth of inventory, awesome. And like, most customers look at store credit as like free money for the shop they just basically traded stuff into. But like, I think both of them, like store owners and customers, are kind of missing a little something there. Like, not in a negative way, obviously, because like I said, it's a good thing, but it's debt. Essentially, that's what that is you're selling us stuff to buy something later down the road. It's a debt that we take on that we have to fulfill later on down the road. And sometimes that later on down the road might not be as opportunistic or as good of a time for customers to be like, well, I'm going to spend $300 in store credit today, and sometimes it is, sometimes it's no big deal, but still, the fact remains is that store credit is a debt. It's a good debt, but it's a debt nonetheless, okay? And I'm not trying to be negative about it because, like I said, it's a good debt. I hate repeating that. I just need to drill that home that it's a good debt, okay? It brings like customer loyalty. It keeps stuff inside the business, which is super, super important. If your, store credit to cash ratios are good enough or better, whatever, and maybe you're running a promo or something, it encourages like repeat business. And if your percentages are right again, it encourages people to bring in like whole ass collections, okay? But every little benefit that store credit gives a shop or someone else, really, those benefits come with a cost. And that cost is that debt. Again, good debt, but still a debt, okay? Because every dollar that you take in for like a store credit trade or whatever is something that is just, again, God, I hate saying this. I'm gonna stop this time. I swear. I swear. It's what you owe them later. Okay, because either they're going to use it all that day, which is cool, or they're gonna bank it and they're gonna come back and use it some other day. And like I said, that other day may not be as good as if they did it automatically that same day. Okay. It sounds weird if you're just the customer side of that hearing this, but if you're on my side, I hope that clicked a little bit for you to understand that, you can have, I don't know, $10,000 in the bank, $30,000 in the bank, but if your store credit sheets, whatever you use, a spreadsheet or whatever, shows that you actually owe, out of everyone that came in, you owe $40,000 in store credit, $50,000 in store credit, are you really doing as good as you think you are? Kind of thing. Like, you got to kind of think about it that way. Plus, 9 times out of 10, when someone trades in stuff, they're going to be able to use it. Most of the times, it's right then and there. Like, they get what they're looking for almost instantaneously, and you don't. Okay? And That's why I want people, other store owners, to be mindful when they're taking in collections and trades and all that good stuff. And I'm sure most of you are, but I feel like I got to say this anyways, because you don't know how long it's going to take you to move said collection. You don't know how long that stuff's going to sit there in the case or whatever, or even online. You have no clue. It could be a day, it could be 2 days, it could be 2 months. So you don't know when you're going to actually recoup your losses for that. So you got to be kind of mindful on what you take in, your percentages, and all that good stuff, because you're essentially stuck holding the bag. Okay? And that's one thing that I don't think customers quite grasp. I know a few of them do, but I don't think most of them quite understand that just because you traded me in, like, I don't know, we'll say 10 fetch lands. Fetches move pretty quick, but still, I'm just going to use them as an example. Just because you traded me in 10 fetch lands doesn't mean all 10 is going to move that day or the day after. I could be stuck with 4 or 5 of those fetch lands 3 weeks after we've done the transaction, you know? So, like, it is what it is. Just be careful of that, okay? And that's also why the LGS percentages for like buy lists and everything, or just general store credit and cash, are as low and horrible as everyone tries to make them out to be, because there's the debt risk involved with the trade, there's the labor involved with simply processing it, listing it, filing it away, all that good stuff. I know that doesn't sound like terrible, but trust me, when you're doing it with 4, 5, 600, 1,000 cards at a time, it gets to be a bit much. There's the storage for the cards, you know, and then again, going back to that shit might sit there for weeks or months, man. So technically, dead inventory. So that's a risk that you run, okay? Once you grasp this and understand it, you, I think, will have a better understanding of how that part of your LGS or whatever should work. Now, if you're a backpack vendor or something like that, you know, I understand, guys, you have literally, compared to a brick and mortar, no fucking overhead. So yeah, you can do 70, 80, 90% on something and still churn your 10% profit and be just fine, because your normal job pays for the rent or mortgage that you have, and this is literally just shit on top. I get that. I'm not, you can laugh at normal LGS percentages all you want, but that's just the reality that you guys have, and kind of the, you know, advantage that you have over LGSs. But like, I don't know, because I get told that not a lot, because our percentages are pretty decent, and it's starting out. And people get hung up on this and think, like, when I tell them this number, like, that's it, like, it's done. Even though I say starting out, you know, our percentages are 60% store credit and 50% cash starting out. If it's something that's on our buy list, yes, it goes up. If it's something that I know is high priority and we can move, yes, it goes up. But like, starting out is 60% credit, 50% cash. I think that's pretty reasonable. And I've been told that's pretty reasonable. But, you know, I get it. Other normies who weren't actually in the hobby, or they're just now getting into it, are accustomed to hearing people in Facebook groups and everything, oh, I got 75, I got 80% over here, this guy gave me 90 for blah, blah, blah. Cool, great. If that's your avenue that you're going to pursue, go for it. Run the actual risk of maybe getting robbed, having your shit taken, not getting paid, getting ghosted, you know, running around with between 5 or 6 different other people, wasting your time and effort. Like, cool, you do you, boo-boo. Where shops, LGSs are here waiting on you to just come in, okay? So, with that being said, the recap on that, man, trades are great. They're wonderful. They help everything go around. They help your singles ecosystem. Sometimes you're sealed depending on what you can get and all that good stuff. I advise not doing sealed. That's just me, because a lot of crap out there can be resealed and all that, and it's a hassle, but that's just me. But like, you got to also understand you just can't go balls deep with it, because it's a debt that you're going to owe that person that they can come back and just call in at any given time, okay? And sometimes that time can just not be too great. You can watch $400 worth of singles just fly out of your case that you just took in yesterday, but it's $400 that you owed that particular person from like 2 weeks ago or something, whenever they did their trade. So keep that in mind, but also sidebar here, because this is something that I do at the shop and it bothers people, and I understand it, but it's a safeguard for the shop itself to make sure that there is actual money coming into it and everything, is that we have restrictions on what you can use store credit for unless you're part of like a particular tier on our Patreon. But typically with sealed products, new products or whatever, you 50% store credit, 50% cash. If it's a single, if it's $25 or over, you have to do 50% store credit, 50% cash. That's just kind of like a guardrail for the shop to ensure that there is actual money flow coming into the shop, and it's not just, us losing so much money on that store credit and everything. So far, it's been pretty effective. People don't seem to mind too terribly much. I get grumbles every now and again, but like, whatever, it is what it is. Especially when you're starting out, you'll probably want to put guardrails like that up just to ensure that all of your inventory doesn't just vanish like a fart in the wind to store credit. Okay? And this also brings in another pitfall, whatever you want to call it, to shops, and it's been becoming, in the past couple of months, becoming a more increasing thorn in the side for places and customers, actually, is like pre-orders, man. Pre-orders are essentially the same thing as store credit. It's a debt that you owe that person months, weeks, whatever the hell, down the road for them paying for something right now. You instantly get that money. Great. You can use that money to buy whatever, pull yourself out of a bill or something like that. But if someone buys a case of something or whatever, you owe them $1,200 later, $800 later, whatever the case of something might be, So keep that in mind too when you're doing pre-orders. Like, it's not free money. It's not it's fast money, but it's fast money comes with its own crap attached to it. Plus, like, let's all be honest here, guys. If you're doing pre-orders, I believe that pre-orders should just be for like standard products, like standard play boosters, just standard boxes of Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that. Nothing premium, because especially with Magic, like bundles, gift bundles, like we just saw with the Strixhaven Codex thing, I got 4 out of the, I think 36 that I wanted. So, imagine if I had actually taken pre-orders on that for people, and I got 4, and I had sold all 36, which is why I don't do pre-orders at the shop. Just don't. But if you are going to do pre-orders and you're hell-bent on doing pre-orders, I would try to just stick to the bare basic products, okay? Unless you've been in business for a while, you pretty much know for a fact that you always get, I don't know, we'll say like 60 collector boosters or something. If you know that you've always gotten 60, then by all means, pre-order yourself up to, I'd say, 50. Because you never really know if you're going to get cut or not, But anyways, let's just consider that pre-orders are also just a debt that you owe. Because that's exactly what it is. And it's not even really a good debt to me. It's not necessarily a good debt. Because there's no way in hell for me to actually make that money back as there is with, trades. So, anyways, I think it's just an interesting thing that I thought about in the shower today, just thought maybe rambling about this might help, because I think a lot of store owners myself included, I've done this from time to time, that we spend our time chasing like assets, like be it actual sealed product or stupid little like plushies or deck boxes, singles, collections, etc., and like, yes, sale. I mean, blah. As the inventory is supposed to bring sales. Sales bring revenue and all that good stuff. But like, sometimes, guys, the things that will kill you is not necessarily like the lack of assets, okay, like the lack of an inventory or whatever. It's the promises that you've already made to X amount of other people with shit that you haven't even acquired yet, or that you took in because you thought that collection would sell really quick, and lo and behold, it's been like 60 days and only a fourth of that collection have sold, just for whatever reason. Sometimes that happens, all right? Like, you need to be really careful about that, because that will come in and bite you in the ass if you're not careful about it. I'm not saying don't do it, because by all means, how else are you really supposed to get like singles and all that good stuff if you don't have the cash to just outright buy everything? It's just a precarious balancing act that you need to be super, super, super aware of, especially in your first couple of years. After you've been in business for 2 or 3 years, you can take some licks and keep on ticking, like it's just the way it is. And everyone takes their licks and keeps on ticking. When you hit that, it's just, sometimes it happens, okay? And like, I think once you realize that, and once you figure out a system that works for you and your shop, or you and your particular scenario or whatever, you'll be fine. You'll be just fine. But you got to just be careful with it, okay? Like, at the end of the day, store credit and pre-orders is a debt that you owe to someone that eventually they do come calling for, and you really have no choice but to give them what they want. Especially if they pre-ordered something, like, I mean, if you're going to be a dick and cancel stuff because it rose by like $10 or whatever, then you're a fucking asshole. But regardless, it's still a debt that you owe to someone, because it's a promise that you made to them that you will have said product, or that, hey, if you need to spend $100 or whatever, I got you, boo, because you got $100 in store credit. So keep that in mind, guys. It's one of those weird little things that I haven't heard a lot of people actually talk about, because I think it's a touchy subject, because people just automatically assume store credit is the greatest thing ever, and especially on the customer side is pretty much, shut the fuck up, guy, you're getting my stuff for free, and then you get to sell it and make a bit of a profit off it. And like, yeah, but no, there could be times where you literally, like I said, come in and redeem all of your store credit at one time, and I've probably made a whopping $300 that day or whatever, and it puts me in the negative, kind of, but anyways, hopefully you guys grasp and understand what I'm trying to get at there. I think that's all I got. If you want to know anything else, like I keep saying, man, let me know in the comments, ask questions, all that good stuff. If you don't want to be public about it, I always list the email address in the comments. Just, reach out and let me know. Because, again, struggling for stuff to talk about is a pain, too. So, anyways, I gotta go and start scanning in cards and all that good, imagine that, scanning in cards in a card shop. But anyways, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Remember, life is not a dick. You don't have to take it so hard. Sometimes the dick does win, though, just sometimes. And you're a trash can, not a trash can't. And you just gotta be like Nike and do it, man. Alright? You guys have a good Friday. Hopefully you have a good weekend. I'll see you again in another video, I don't know, probably Sunday or Monday. Take it easy, guys.